She was just the weird aunt. Or so they thought. Part 1. Chapter 1, The Black Sheep. The last seat at the table was always Nora's. Tucked at the end, nearest the hallway and farthest from the fire, where the chill of late autumn slipped through the old house's drafty windows and brushed her ankles. No one offered her a better chair. No one ever did. Turkey steam drifted across the table like battlefield smoke, hovering between bowls of roasted squash and lumpy mashed potatoes. The cousins were already elbow-deep in gravy, plates clattering, wine glasses tilted a little too aggressively for a family gathering. Nora sat with her back straight, fingers laced neatly on her lap, watching it all unfold like theater. "Sorry," Nora said her brother Peter as he reached across her without hesitation, nearly knocking her glass. "Didn't see you there." She gave a gentle smile. "No problem." Someone muttered something at the far end. A laugh followed. Probably Rachel's daughter again, the one in finance who always asked if Nora was still doing that remote thing, or whatever. That vague, dismissive tone they all used. Freelance. Consulting. Government checks. No one was quite sure. Nora never clarified. At 46, she'd been relegated to the role of family myth. Unmarried. No children. No house photos. No public social media. She didn't even drive a flashy car, just a quiet, clean grey sedan. The nieces and nephews had concocted elaborate stories about her. "She's probably got a secret boyfriend in Sweden. She's definitely on pills. Bet she's got, like, 15 cats." The truth. Much more interesting. But far less amusing. "Still no +1, her sister Susan asked as she passed the green beans with a grin too sharp to be warm. "Nope," Nora replied, without rising to the bait. "Still no appetite for drama." Peter snorted. "Guess that's one way to put it." Nora's fork moved in slow, deliberate patterns, never fast enough to seem rude, but just quickly enough to keep her hands busy. That was the trick, really. Stay neutral. Pleasant. Invisible. Because the second she let herself be noticed, the story might change. And Nora wasn't ready for them to know her story yet. Not while her mother, Eleanor, sat smiling from her armchair by the fireplace, fragile but holding court with a regal air. Not while the walls were still covered in childhood portraits, Nora's at the very edge, cropped oddly small. Not while the family still believed she was something between a mystery and a mild embarrassment. "Nora, sweetie," Eleanor said gently, "you doing all right down there?" Nora looked up, and for the briefest moment, a flicker, their eyes locked. Something passed between them. Something private. Old. A bond forged in secrets and sustained by decades of silence. "I'm good, Mom," Nora said. "Dinner looks lovely. Tell me if you need anything." "I will." Of course, she wouldn't. Rachel's son, Connor, the startup bro, leaned toward her. "You ever think about starting something of your own, Aunt Nora? I could help you get set up on LinkedIn. You know, get some eyes on your brand." Nora tilted her head slightly. "I think I'll manage." He grinned. "Sure. But you'd be surprised what a little visibility can do." "Oh, I'm counting on it," she said, her voice honeyed. They didn't notice the edge in her words. They never did. Dinner droned on, conversations overlapping in that chaotic family way, and Nora faded, exactly as they expected her to. But while the others clinked glasses and griped about interest rates and car loans, Nora's mind moved with quiet precision. There were 3 company meetings waiting for her in the morning, 1 international wire transfer to approve, and a press embargo lifting on an AI contract she'd closed last quarter that would change her entire industry. But here, at this table, she was just Aunt Nora. The one with no direction, no prospects, no presence. Exactly how she wanted it. As dessert arrived, the laughter softened, replaced with the hum of digestion and too much red wine. Nora rose and cleared her plate. No one noticed. They never did. In the kitchen, she paused. Took a breath. Her phone buzzed quietly in her back pocket. Encrypted line 1902. Arrow Corp. HQ, 3 major publications confirmed the leak is contained. Press will redirect focus to Gemini AI release. Green light. Nora typed, green light. Full forward. She dropped the phone into her purse, smiled faintly, and returned to the table. A ghost among family. A billionaire in disguise. The black sheep, yes. But one with teeth. Chapter 2, Behind the Curtains. The door to Nora's house clicked shut with a soft finality, cutting off the faint sounds of distant traffic and the even fainter echo of family chatter still ringing in her ears. She didn't sigh. She didn't slump. She didn't unravel, because Nora Ashcroft never dropped her guard, not even in her own home. She locked the door with a practiced flick of her thumb, 3 deadbolts, custom installed, matte black, and turned into the silent stillness of the entryway. No family portraits here. No mismatched shoes or cluttered surfaces. Just clean lines, soft lighting, and silence. Outside, her house passed as modest. Mid-century. Quiet. In a neighborhood full of retired professors and hobby gardeners. She kept the garden pleasant but forgettable. Hedges just high enough to discourage nosy neighbors. A car just old enough to be unremarkable. But inside was a different story. The front room looked like a study, but behind the bookshelf, a real, actual, sliding bookshelf, a narrow stairway led down to a hidden level beneath the house. Not a bunker. Not a panic room. Something far more advanced. The air changed the moment she stepped inside, cool, crisp, dry, climate-controlled by a system she'd had imported from Switzerland. 3 full walls were filled with screens. Security feeds, financial dashboards, encrypted comm lines, coded channels, and live streaming analytics. In the center, a black glass table with a single glowing interface, touch-responsive, ARI-assisted, and proprietary. Her domain. Nora stepped forward and said clearly, "Wake up." The lights flicked on, dim and focused. The system responded in a cool, genderless voice. "Welcome back, Director Ashcroft." She removed her coat and draped it over the back of a minimalist chair, kicked off her boots, and walked barefoot across the sleek floor. The wall of monitors bloomed to life. The world unfolded in real time. Stock markets in Tokyo. A pending merger in Berlin. A legal dispute in DC she'd strategically provoked 2 weeks ago, now rippling upward toward a federal defense contract. On one screen, a report pulsed red. Gemini AI press leak contained. Military demo ready. Nora tapped it. Her assistant appeared in a video feed, Natalie, early 30s, all business, calling in from an office somewhere in Singapore. Everything handled? Nora asked. Leak traced to an intern at Beckstrom Media. Fired. Discredited. No impact on the rollout. Launch goes public in 4 days. And PR. Running with the mysterious tech visionary angle. Gender-neutral language. No photos. No identifiers. Good, Nora said. Keep me invisible. Natalie nodded. Anything else? Nora hesitated. Thought back to dinner. The smells. The questions. The stares. Not yet, she said. But there will be. The feed cut. Nora turned to another screen, her personal ledger. 3 holding companies, 1 shell corporation, 2 anonymous trusts. Clean. Untouchable. Ironclad. Everything about her life was a construction, a fortress of shadows built from code, law, and misdirection. No social footprint. No corporate records linking her real name to her assets. Even her employees knew her only as Director. Her company, Arrow Corp, had started in her mid-30s, a quiet ambition born from a background in cybersecurity, a few high-stakes freelance jobs for government contractors, and the realization that being underestimated was her greatest asset. They all thought she was quiet because she was weak. But Nora was quiet because power didn't need to shout. A soft ping interrupted her thoughts. Another alert, this time from her personal security AI. Family Associated Device Accessing Network. She narrowed her eyes. Tapped into the log. Peter's son. Alex. Attempted to access her Wi-Fi during dinner. Not directly, he wouldn't be that stupid, but he'd been running a passive scan, maybe trying to sniff metadata from surrounding devices. Interesting, she murmured. She opened a subfolder and pulled up a few lines of code, her defensive countermeasures. Anyone poking around would find a few false breadcrumbs, a fake bank account login, an email tied to a non-existent LLC, and just enough encrypted traffic to bait a deeper dive. She'd let him nibble a bit longer. See how far he was willing to go. People made mistakes when they were hungry. She tapped in a voice command. Create file, Project Wolves. Subject, Family. A new folder formed. Empty, for now. But not for long. She stood in the center of her lair and looked around. All of it, the screens, the codes, the contracts, they weren't the real fortress. She was. She closed her eyes and pictured their faces. The laughter. The smugness. The moment Susan asked if she was bringing a +1. The way Rachel's daughter wrinkled her nose at her vague remote work. They thought they knew who she was. They didn't even know her name. But they were going to. And by the time they realized the truth, that Nora Ashcroft had more power in a single encrypted server than all of them combined, it would already be far too late. Chapter 3, The Sick Matriarch. It happened on a Sunday morning. Quiet, ordinary. The sky outside was a pale gray, a sheet of cloud cover softening the edges of the world. Eleanor Ashcroft was in the kitchen, alone, making tea. She moved slower these days, her once fluid grace dulled by age but still composed, elegant in the way former ballerinas or diplomats carry their bones. She reached for a mug, her fingers trembling slightly, but when she turned toward the kettle, something in her body betrayed her. First, a sway. Then, her knees buckled. No warning. No sound. Her body crumpled onto the cold tile with a dull, wet thud. A mug shattered beside her. Harold, her husband, had been shaving when he heard the crash. He found her moments later, eyes open but unfocused, one side of her face slack, breath short and ragged. Her lips moved, but no words came out. The hospital was all white light and echoing footsteps. Machines beeped like heartless metronomes. Nurses moved in rehearsed silence. The Ashcroft siblings arrived within hours. Susan was first, breathless and tense, her eyes rimmed with stress but already shifting toward control. She asked too many questions, demanded clarity the doctors couldn't give. Peter came second, suit jacket flung over his shoulder, looking like he'd just come from a golf meeting and hadn't had time to change. He nodded to Harold like it was a handshake at a funeral. Rachel arrived last, still on a Bluetooth call when she walked in, mouthing "Mom," between portfolio updates and eye rolls. Her heels clicked loudly, a metronome of detachment. Nora arrived quietly and unnoticed. She stood near the wall while the others circled their mother's bed like it was a throne under siege. Eleanor lay still. 4 tubes in her arms, pale beneath the blanket. Her chest rose in shallow waves. The doctor appeared, young, tired, and not particularly hopeful. She suffered a collapse likely due to fluid buildup in the lungs. "We've confirmed signs of congestive heart failure," he said. "We ran a CT and blood panel. I'm afraid, the cancer has returned." A beat. Then another. "What cancer?" Peter said flatly. Susan blinked. She had breast cancer 10 years ago. It was in remission. The doctor nodded gently. "It's back. And it's metastasized to the lungs and bones. I'm sorry. We're moving to palliative care options. Your mother has weeks, maybe months." Harold turned away. His shoulders collapsed inward. Peter was the first to speak again. "Jesus. Okay, well, what does that mean for care? How long can she stay here?" The doctor gave a polite, clinical answer that essentially meant, not long. The rest would be up to them. "Is she going to need round-the-clock care?" Rachel asked, arms folded tightly. "Nurses? Equipment?" "Yes. Likely hospice-level support. Either at home, or in a facility. Both options will have out-of-pocket expenses. Insurance can only cover part of it." "And how much is part?" The doctor didn't answer that. He didn't need to. The number hung in the air like a shadow waiting to fall. In the hospital's family lounge, the arguing started fast and without ceremony. "We can't afford a facility," Susan said. "Those places charge more per month than college tuition. And you want her in some kind of assisted living dorm." Rachel snapped. "Have you seen those places? Half of them smell like bleach and death." Peter held up his hands. "Can we not fight about this here?" Susan glared. "Then make a suggestion, Peter." He scoffed. "I don't know, maybe start by looking at home care. A part-time nurse. We alternate shifts. Evenings, weekends. We rotate." "I work full-time," Rachel said immediately. "You all act like I don't," Susan snapped back. Harold sat slumped in the corner. Silent. Ashen. No one asked what he could contribute. No one needed to. The room filled with noise, questions, math, guilt-tinged suggestions. But underneath it all ran a single, invisible current. Who's going to pay for this? And as the silence thickened, they all began looking in the same direction. Toward the one person who hadn't spoken since the diagnosis. Nora. She stood by the window, arms folded, her expression unreadable. She hadn't cried. Hadn't argued. Hadn't even flinched. But she'd heard everything. And said nothing. Yet. Chapter 4, Ask the Deadweight. It began, like all family betrayals, in a quiet corner. They thought she wasn't listening. It was late evening, the hospital waiting room now dimmed by the soft flicker of overhead fluorescence. Eleanor was stable for the moment, sedated in her private room, and the siblings had peeled away for coffee and conversation, which was, as always, less about love and more about control. They sat clustered in the far corner near the vending machines, their voices low but not low enough. Nora remained in the armchair by the window, her back turned, seemingly lost in the view beyond the glass, a parking lot slick with rain, glowing faintly under streetlights. They didn't think she was paying attention. That was their first mistake. So Rachel began, stirring a coffee she wouldn't drink. How exactly are we affording this? Susan sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. We're not. Not unless something changes. The palliative care nurse alone is quoting $175 per visit. And that's not counting meds or equipment. Peter scoffed. I mean, what, are we just expected to bleed for the next 6 months while she fades away in comfort? She's our mother, Peter. She's also not going to live long enough to drain the rest of us dry, he muttered. Rachel clicked her tongue. Let's be realistic. I have 2 kids in private school. Peter has his business. You've got your yoga empire or whatever. None of us can cover this. Susan hesitated. There is one option. Both heads turned toward her. Nora. A silence. Then a snort, from Peter. Rachel blinked. You're joking. I'm not, Susan said. Think about it. No spouse. No kids. No mortgage. She's probably sitting on a pile of savings from, I don't know, unemployment checks, old college grants, whatever she's been doing since 2012. Peter let out a laugh, short and sharp. Right. Nora the nomad. Drifting from one dream to the next. We don't even know if she works. Rachel smirked. Does writing weird poetry on Twitter count as employment now? Maybe she invested in astrology, Peter added. I hear the moon's doing great. They laughed. Low, dismissive, arrogant laughter. Behind them, Nora didn't move. Not a flicker of her spine, not a twitch of her hand. She sat still, quietly, invisibly, her eyes locked on the shimmer of wet pavement. Susan leaned in slightly, a conspiratorial whisper. She's always been strange, but not stupid. She's survived somehow all these years. I bet she's got a nest egg. Savings. Maybe even some inheritance from grandma we forgot about. And she's just been hoarding it while we do all the work. Rachel asked. Exactly. And now, with Mom like this, it's time she finally puts some skin in the game. Peter leaned back, arms crossed. So what? We just walk over and say, hey Nora, can you crack open your weird little savings jar and spot us 20 grand? Susan's eyes narrowed. No. We make it a family contribution plan. Evenly divided. 4 ways. And if she's not willing to help, we call it what it is, selfish. Rachel nodded. We can guilt her into it. She's passive. Always was. She won't fight. Peter raised an eyebrow. Unless she's finally grown a backbone. But that seems unlikely. They all chuckled again. This time softer. Like the conversation was settled. Nora still hadn't moved. But her silence wasn't empty. It was measured. Intentional. Sharp as glass. Behind her calm eyes, her mind catalogued every word. Every sneer. Every misguided assumption. They didn't know about the offshore accounts. The encrypted server beneath her house. The six-figure defense contract she'd signed just 2 days prior. They didn't know that Nora Ashcroft had quietly made more money in the last fiscal quarter than Peter's business had made in its entire existence. They didn't know that calling her a deadweight wasn't just wrong. It was dangerous. Still, she said nothing. Let them believe their illusions a little longer. Let them laugh. They had no idea the game they'd just stepped into. Chapter 5. The Unexpected No. It was a Tuesday evening when they called the meeting. Not a hospital conference room this time, but Susan's house, neutral territory, with strong coffee, too many candles, and a polished dining table that smelled faintly of lemon oil and passive aggression. Rachel was already there, scrolling through her phone and pretending to care. Peter arrived late, as usual, tossing his jacket onto a chair and grabbing a beer from the fridge like he lived there. Connor, Peter's son, tagged along this time too, slouched in the corner, earbuds in and attention half out the door. And then there was Nora. She arrived exactly on time. No earlier, no later. Same calm composure. Same grey wool coat, subtle jewelry, practical boots. She looked like she was coming from a walk, or a bookshop, or nowhere important. Which, of course, is exactly what they thought. Susan smiled tightly when Nora stepped in. Glad you could make it. Nora gave her a nod, hanging her coat by the door. You said it was important. Just a quick family conversation, Peter said. Won't take long. They all gathered around the table. Nora chose the seat at the end, beneath the overhead pendant light. It cast a soft glow on her face, made her features look sculpted, unreadable. Susan cleared her throat. So, as you know, Mom's care situation is evolving. We've been looking into long-term support options, and it's clear this won't be something insurance alone can cover. We've got estimates, Rachel chimed in. Hospice, medication, equipment, rotating care staff. We're talking thousands. Per month. Peter leaned forward, folding his hands like he was closing a business deal. And we all agreed, we should handle this as a family. Equally. Nora's eyes flicked to him. Equally. Yes, Susan said. We each contribute a fourth. No debate. No guilt. Just fairness. Nora was quiet for a moment. Not out of hesitation, but deliberation. Then, in a voice as smooth and measured as a chess master announcing checkmate, she said. No, the word cut through the room like a blade. They froze. Susan blinked. I'm sorry, what? Nora didn't repeat herself. She simply folded her hands in her lap. Peter laughed, once, sharp, stunned. You're saying no? As in, you won't help? Nora's voice didn't waver. That's correct. But, why? Rachel said, her smile twitching. I mean, we're talking about Mom. I understand that, Nora said. And I care. But I won't be contributing financially. There was a beat of stunned silence. You're seriously going to sit there and say you can't help? Susan asked. When you have no expenses. No kids. No mortgage. No, anything. I have responsibilities, Nora replied calmly. Just not ones that involve bailing out the family. Peter's eyes narrowed. Responsibilities. Right. Like what? Your Pinterest blog. Nora didn't answer. She didn't flinch. Rachel scoffed. Look, we get it, you're living your best minimalist life or whatever. But we're in the real world here. We're drowning in medical bills, and you're just, what? Opting out. I didn't opt into this dynamic in the first place, Nora said. For years, I've played the role of afterthought. The weird aunt. The outsider. Now you want something, and I'm supposed to fall in line. Susan's face flushed red. That's not fair. No, Nora said softly. What's not fair is being invisible until it's time to open a wallet. A sharp silence. The kind that feels like static just before a lightning strike. Connor finally looked up from his phone. So wait, are you broke or just selfish? Peter gave him a warning glance, but Nora didn't react. She turned her head slightly, as if inspecting an art piece she found only mildly interesting. I have my own life, she said. My own goals. My own obligations. That's all you need to know. Rachel leaned back, arms crossed. Funny. You've never had a job anyone could confirm, but now suddenly you've got important obligations. Susan's tone was sharper now. So that's it. You're just walking away. You're leaving the rest of us to figure it out. You're capable, Nora said. You've told me that for years. Peter pushed his chair back, the legs screeching against the floor. Unbelievable. The one time we actually need you. You don't need me, Nora interrupted, her voice flat. You need money. That's different. For a moment, no one said anything. The family unit, loud, dismissive, arrogant, had been momentarily stunned into silence. Not because Nora had lashed out. But because she hadn't. She didn't beg. She didn't defend. She just said no. And for the first time, that made them look at her differently. Not as a ghost. Not as a dead weight. But as a variable they couldn't control. Rachel was the first to recover. Well. That was enlightening. Peter snorted. This whole time I thought she was just harmlessly weird. Now I'm starting to think she's just cold. Susan didn't speak. She just looked at Nora, eyes narrowed, thoughtful. Calculating. Then she said something very quiet, almost to herself. No one says no that easily unless they're hiding something. And just like that, the seed was planted. Not just frustration. Not just anger. Suspicion. Because if Nora wasn't broke, and she wasn't naive, then maybe she wasn't the one in the shadows after all. Maybe she'd been watching them from the light the entire time. And maybe, just maybe, she was the most dangerous person in the room. Chapter 6, Family Group Chat, Unhinged Edition. The group chat's name changed again. It was now called Ashcroft Ops, a half-joke, half-code for what it had become, not just a family thread, but a private investigation. It started less than 24 hours after Nora's refusal. One little no and suddenly the family couldn't stop thinking about her. Not just in passing frustration, but with the kind of obsessive energy usually reserved for celebrity scandals or true crime podcasts. She had said she couldn't help because she had her own responsibilities. And that was enough to set everything on fire. Susan. Has anyone ever actually seen her work? Peter. No. But she's on her laptop a lot, right? Could just be watching British murder shows. Rachel. She's never asked me for help. Like ever. So either she's living off old savings, or there's something else. Connor. I'm telling you. Something's off. I tried pulling up her LinkedIn, nothing. Emilia, Rachel's daughter. LOL same. No Facebook, no Insta, no old college friends tagging her anywhere. She's like a ghost with Wi-Fi. Connor. Dead serious. I checked her Wi-Fi network when we were at the hospital. Didn't try to connect or anything, just scanned. It was named GR4Y_SP4RK. Which is weirdly specific. Emilia. Sounds like a hacker username. Or a gamer grandma. Connor. Also, there were encrypted signals coming from it. Not normal traffic. Like VPN level stuff. Real cloak and dagger *T. Susanna. Wait. What are you saying? Connor. I don't know yet. But it's not Netflix and Pinterest. That much I'm sure of. Rachel. Are we seriously suggesting that Nora has some secret tech life she's just never mentioned? Peter. If she was actually successful, we'd know. She'd have told Mom. Or bragged by now. Emilia. Unless she doesn't want us to know. Upside down face. Connor. What if she's hiding it on purpose? A pause. Then a ripple of speculation. Susanna. Look. If she is sitting on some secret stash, investments, savings, whatever, it's actually kind of disgusting she won't help with Mom. Peter. Agreed. Maybe it's time someone finds out what she's really up to. Connor. I can dig. Give me a few days. If she's got a trail, I'll find it. Emilia. You mean like, hack her? Connor. Not directly. Just metadata. Domain traces. Surface level scraping. Nothing illegal. Yet. Rachel. Be discreet. Last thing we need is her getting suspicious and going full spy mode. If she is a spy, LMAO. Susanna. Just figure out what she's hiding. If she has money, we deserve to know. They wouldn't admit it aloud, not yet, but a shift had happened. The conversation was no longer about helping their mother. Not really. That had just been the matchstick. This was about power. They were used to Nora being the odd one out. The dead weight. The one they could mock at family dinners and forget in between. But now. She was a question mark. And question marks in this family were dangerous. Meanwhile, Nora sat in her living room, sipping green tea and scrolling through a mirrored version of their chat. She had infiltrated their group thread months ago. Not because she was paranoid. Because she was patient. Encrypted backdoors. An old password Rachel had reused on 3 platforms. A lazy verification text Peter once forwarded to her by mistake. 1 mistake each, that's all it took. Now she was reading every word in real time. She smiled faintly as Connor bragged about detecting encrypted traffic from her Wi-Fi. Good boy, she thought. But still years behind. She stood, walked to her concealed office behind the bookshelf, and tapped into her own live feeds. There, on one screen, her niece's apartment webcam, active, audio off, just to watch. On another, Connor's laptop usage logs. Amateur coding forums. VPN tutorials. Nothing dangerous. Yet. She sipped again. If they wanted to play detective, so be it. Let them hunt shadows. Let them pull on loose threads they didn't understand. Eventually, one of them would pull too hard. And that's when everything would snap.
Thanks for watching. If this story hit home, don't forget to like the video. It helps more people discover powerful stories like this one. Leave a comment below and tell us what you think, or share your own experience. Subscribe to Revenge and Strong Women for more emotional, gripping tales where strength rises and justice is served. And don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss an upload. Around here, pain doesn't break us, it builds us. And the best revenge is showing them who you became after they tried to destroy you.